Welcome to God's Way YTVY, the Spiritual Viewpoint Show. I'm Adolphina Shephard, host, co-host Thomas Knight Templar here.
Good evening, everyone.
We have an awesome guest tonight to teach you about something that most of you have never heard of. Our fabulous Birgit Lueders, Iridologist, Master Herbalist.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, my dear. We're delighted because, you know, there are so many modalities and so many cutting-edge technologies that so few people know about, and I consider Iridology to be one of them. So that's why we have her on, to teach you a few new things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Birgit Lueders. I live in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia, with my lovely husband who is in the audience today, and my two children, Lisa and Emma. I'm original from Austria, so if anybody already wonders about my accent.
I thought it was Brooklyn.
Yeah, comes closer. I'm working on my Philadelphian accent, but it's not getting there yet. So I'm originally from Austria, came 16 years ago. I'm an herbalist and iridologist. I started my business 6 years ago, and I called it Birgit Care. And it's just a holistic health coaching process where I teach people that they can take care of their own health with the help of food and emotions and herbs. But we just need to know about it. We need to get back on the driver's seat of our own health.
That's true, and I'll tell you a little story about why I'm so impressed with Iridology. I guess it was about 10 years ago, I'm in my office doing some work, and suddenly I feel like I have an elephant on my chest. And my husband comes in, and he says, "What's the matter?" I said, "I feel like I have an elephant on my chest." Well, we have heart problems in our family. So he said, "Let's go to the emergency room." So we went to the emergency room. They put me in the hospital to keep me there overnight for observation. In the meantime, of course, I'm realizing what's going on, and we're doing energy work on it to fix it. The next morning, they do a stress test. Nothing showed up. They said, "You're fine." Meanwhile, I know I'm not fine. I go see my family doctor, who happens to be clairvoyant, and she says, "Oh my God, all your grids are burst open in your chest area." Well, if you want to learn about that, go to show 2, Learning to Work with Your Angels on YouTube, and you'll learn all about that part. I go to my feng shui teacher. She has clairvoyant sight. She says, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" So I know something's happened, plus the way I feel. Well, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 years, 5 years after that, I go and I sit with another iridologist who I'm very fond of because he's so good at his trade, as well as Birgit here. And he says, "Are you aware you had a minor heart attack about 5 years ago?" I said, "Yes, but tell that to Western Medical. Their equipment could not even pick it up, but the iridologist could." Now go figure that out.
That's
right?
Great story.
Yeah, now, you know, it's interesting too. I want to tell you a quote from the Bible that Birgit brought to my attention, and this is so true. "The eye is the lamp of the body. So then if your eye is clear, your whole body will be full of light." Matthew 6:22.
That's very true. As I was talking with Birgit before we went on the air, we were talking about the eye itself, and I was telling her that the eye is the only part of your body that remains the same through all phases of life, from infant to toddler to adolescent, teen, all the way up. You change every day, every second you change. But the one thing that doesn't, that remains, is your eye. Your eyes, because your eyes are the windows to your heart, where God lives in your heart. All right, so your eyes tell your story because they've seen it, your life path. And we were talking about discussing this, and now you're going to see how what I just told you plays into this.
Well, you know, they always say the eye is the window to the soul, and that is just seriously the truth. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you some photos, and Birgit here is going to educate us on it, and then we're actually going to have a live iridology reading so you can see the value of it, and if we have time we may do more than one. So I guess the best way to start is, how about if we pull up that illustration of the I guess it's, what do you call this, an iridology chart? So I found it fascinating when I was looking at this.
So what iridology really is the study of the iris and the pupil. And we take the unique patterns from the fibers and the colors, and that has all a meaning for the iridologist. So if I look into it and I see a raised fiber, which is more a little bit wider compared to the background or darker, it tells me the strength and weakness from specific body systems. They're connected to that organ and to that fiber. So it's kind of almost like a blueprint of your body when you see it like this. Yeah, or like a manual. I like to say it's like your manual, you know, when you buy technical equipment. Yeah, you get a manual, and in the back already says what you have to do when certain errors come up.
Now, that chart flashed up there briefly, but let me just tell people a little bit about it. That's kind of like a chart that shows all the different parts of the eye that Birgit would analyze. And maybe you can take it from there and tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Iridology got together and created a map, a unified map. After research over 100 years, certain people, when they showed symptoms of prediabetes, for example, they had a certain speck or a certain little hole or a little circle in a specific area. So they went in there and made a map. And that map actually was redefined since we have digital cameras. Digital cameras are a little bit more accurate, more as in the old times when they looked into the eyes.
Do you need that anymore?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you can bring that down now. So, so continue.
So what it is like then they made that unified map, and that's how we can figure out which organ is associated in which corner. But the beauty on iridology is not only, like you said, it's the window to the soul, it's also the window to the complete holistic health. And so you can see one sign that can have a physical meaning, or it can have a meaning for the emotions. Or actually now I was talking to you guys that there are spiritual pictures coming into the pupils now and into the iris as well.
I see that the right eye and the left eye, that there, you know, like you have shoulder, and it would be for this eye and shoulder for that eye. So everything corresponds, right? So it's all.
Yeah, it's kind of like you cut your body in half, and so the right and left show that.
Have you ever come across, like, you're diagnosing somebody has a problem or some type of illness or something, but it only appears on one eye and not the other?
Yeah, in iridology, there's the saying that when it's only in one eye, then this is not the problem from the person yet. They just inherit a genetic weakness in it from the generations back.
So if he has both.
When they're both, then this a person has to already work towards healing or prevent that form of weakness.
Okay.
So I found that very interesting, having just found that out, about you can actually see from your ancestors and your genetics in one eye, and in the other eye, one's a male and one's a female, right?
Yes.
Or the yin yang.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at the chart, it says the right, but it's the left brain.
Yes.
And we also had mentioned that because, you know, your brain is wired kind of different. And your right side is your male side, right? I mean, I knew that, and your left is your feminine side. And so it actually shows in your eyes as well.
And I kind of like that a little bit because we female people always think we are a little bit more in tuned into our emotions, right?
Just a little.
Just a tiny little
Just
bit.
a little. Yeah.
And so in this case, the female eye is the right brain. And we talk about the right brain in the medical world, that it's more the creative brain and more the emotional brain, and the left brain is the more the structured one, the type E personality kind of.
Well, doesn't it have something to do with the intuitive people have more fibers between the left and the right brain, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah. We can also, in the way I can see if a person is more intuitive, is they definitely have a little bit more energy in the right brain area by seeing that on the specific pictures of the eyes.
Oh, that's fascinating. And also, for the first time, we got a big surprise for you today, because she is actually able to even see your angels in your eye. And she showed me a picture, which we'll be bringing up later, where you can actually see a face in the eye as well as a few spirits. That was very interesting, because in the aura photography, which is my hobby, one of my hobbies, I should say.
Just one?
Just one.
Okay.
No, I have more than one. and where I can also see spirits and everything. So I found that very interesting.
And
You know?
I told you about that this happened by accident to me because I'm so trained of memorizing maps and facts, and so I'm working very hard with my left brain.
Okay.
And one day I took more pictures, and I happened to be in tune with Reiki from a friend of mine because she said you might read the iris better, being a little bit more energetically attuned. And then one day I took a picture from the iris, and I've looked twice, and I thought I saw something in there. And that's when I met like you, and I think on a convention too,
Yeah,
right? And we
yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah,
but-
it just so happened, you know, most of the people we have on the show, I've met various places, but Birgit and I actually met at an expo, and she was sitting right next to me. So we had the whole weekend to chitter chat, and that was really nice. You know, we did a trade, and we each learned a little bit
Yeah.
about what each other does. So that was fun.
Almost do the same thing then, right?
Yeah, in a way, yeah, in a way. Although this is so precise, though. I mean, where you have the things, there's so many different categories
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
And what blew me away was when you can actually figure out someone how they are, like if they're committed or if they're not willing to be
Yeah.
attached.
Yeah.
If they are
Emotionally
egotistical.
vacant.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, there was even an ego sense in
Yeah.
here. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I couldn't
Yeah.
believe she could tell that somebody is egotistic by their eye,
Right there.
or if they.
It is quite interesting sometimes when I do the expos and I don't even know their name, and they hop on the seat and I take a picture, and then I said, you got to stop doing your lists. And they're list makers, you know, like they have to schedule their weekends
Yeah, I know the
and
type.
even their hobbies, and
Very
they write
anal.
lists down, and she's like, how'd you know that?
Right, right. Well,
from the
this one
eye.
got me too. You can tell if somebody's visionary driven. Who would have ever thought that, you know? Or guilt and fear.
Yeah.
Guilt
Yeah.
and fear.
Yeah.
So if someone has a guilt complex, it's going to show in
Yeah.
their eye, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing to me. What does this mean? SECUM, SCECUM, I saw a little on the chart. It's
The crown.
Oh, the crown, right here?
Yeah, CQM, no, this is more the medical terms, because the closer we get to the pupil, the more we talk about the digestive system. So when we have the map, the closest is the stomach, and then it gets to be the digestive system. And so isn't it true emotionally too, when something horrible happens, it goes onto our stomach,
feel it in the
and we
stomach, yeah.
immediately feel like somebody punched us in the stomach, and
That's
so
your
the
what's
center
the sacral
powerhouse
chakra,
towards the pupil, which is the spiritual world,
Okay.
is wrapped around is the stomach, and then wrapped around is the digestive system, the colon. So most people, for example, with IBS, inflammatory bowel syndrome, have very tight inflammation around the pupil because they have sucked down every emotion possible close into
wow.
their center. And that's what I can see too. And that sometimes helps immediately if I'm trying to help somebody overcome disease or help somebody to prevent disease. We go right there and untie the knots, you know, and feed the digestive system.
So Metamucil wouldn't work. No, okay.
I don't know about that, maybe temporarily. But now, when a person's born, isn't it just the eye, the pupil or the eye, and then the colon? Right?
yeah.
Isn't that how a baby starts? The eye and then the colon. So that makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Because, and Edgar Casey used to say that everything is in the gut.
Yeah.
Everything is in
Exactly. And the major person in America for iridology was Bernard Jensen, and he was a chiropractor as well, and he just believed first healing comes from the root, which is the digestive system.
the gut. So like when you take antibiotics then, for instance,
Yeah.
you're destroying the good bacteria as well as the
Yes.
bad bacteria, and then it's a whole rebuilding process.
yes.
That's why probiotics
The
are so
probiotics,
good.
Yeah.
This is, you know, you never heard of it 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
now it's all over the place. You
Which
know?
is great, because we're really opening up now to get that message of probiotics or digestive enzymes. Things are coming out.
It's amazing, just amazing. Well, you want to? We'll go over some samples now. How about if we pull up one of the eyes, maybe the blue eye, and we'll start there. And Birgit can analyze it for us a little bit.
Yeah.
So they'll be pulling that up in a second. And in the meantime, this I'll tell you, this chart just fascinates me.
Well, in the meantime, I can explain that usually what people are afraid of iridology is sometimes that they get too many bad news. But you can also see your strength, and that's what sometimes people forget. Like I noticed that in a convention, they say, "Oh no, I don't want to know what I'm dying on or what's going to be wrong with me." But by that,
Because they always assume
you can
that
see
there's
the
going to be
strength.
something bad.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. There's
So
the blue
there's
eye.
the eye. Yeah, this happens to be my eye, so I had to have you see it because it's like a blue eyes, like everybody sees, but they're
Is that the left
the
or the right?
white. Yeah, they're the white specks around the white fibers.
Is that the left or the right?
This is the right, and the way you can see it is.
I was looking at the curvature. But
Yes, exactly. And then you slide a little. The pupil slides a little bit further inward, towards the right side. Then you know if it's the right eye.
The actual in the white of the eye, does that signify anything?
That's sclera. It's another field of sclerology, but we learn a little bit of that too. And if you see the red line there, that
Yeah.
means the person has a little bit more allergies, which is me, and it's true. I'm pretty much a mess in the springtime.
Just a little mess.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
But what I really want to have you pay attention to, which everybody can see, is those flocks. They look like snowballs, especially because it's winter right now. They are like, if you see it as a clock, it's 3 o'clock right there. And you can see that snowball, flake. And that's considered excess mucus buildup. And when we look into our map, it's associated with our throat area. And I was a child of a lot of strep throat when I was a teenager.
So you had all the
Yes, I had a lot of
mucus in the
mucus
throat.
all built up right here,
Yeah.
not in my lungs, all here. And that was genetically probably inherited, but also from me eating excessive mucus building foods. So my priority now is to reduce dairy from my diet,
Yeah, dairy would
and then
do
I'm
that,
not
yeah.
so prone to having my strep throat.
And that's the advice you also gave my husband too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we were on the phone talking about that.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So did you want to say anything else about that eye before we move on to the
no,
next eye?
we can move on to the next.
Okay. May we have the next eye up, please? And I'm just finding this whole thing fascinating. Okay, here we go, the
Here we
brown
go.
eye.
Well, the brown eye, you can see a little bit like, it looks like a street, a highway running around in circles. It's like a scratch in a surface. It's white, it looks like somebody scraped color away. And it's like an outside circle. The reason why I'm talking about that is called stress ring or anxiety rings. And that's a person who like physically also stresses and
Is that
concentrates.
the lower eye?
It's like a circle goes through the
Yeah, I see
whole
it.
eye.
Are you talking about on
Yeah,
the outside
on the
of the
outside,
eye?
yeah.
I thought that had something to do with cataracts when they have that.
No, in this
Kind
case,
of looks like the eyeball has an aura.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
That's what it looks like.
but this is called anxiety or stress ring. Doesn't mean that the person is anxious yet, but that person is very high intense, very in their head, overthinking things, very on edge, little bit fight and flight mode. And when I see that, I definitely know that this person first has to do a little bit of meditation or yoga before we even start healing to balance the yin and yang.
To bring down the stress load too. yeah.
Exactly. That's one thing. And you can see a little bit lighter, brighter brush strokes. It's like the brown gets a little bit more orangey. And that's considered the tiger eye in a way. And we see a little bit weakness in the liver with that. So that person would always benefit from a little bit of a liver cleanse here and there, so every 2-3 years, to just get rid of the toxins because our liver is the filter from the whole body.
Yeah, that's the general, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the general of
Yeah.
the body, yeah. Let's see, we have a couple more eyes coming
yeah.
up. Let's see, I think we want the mixed eye
Yeah.
now.
Mixed?
Yeah,
Yeah,
mixed.
a mixed eye, yeah. That's what you called it. I
Yeah.
didn't. There we go.
That's
This is
interesting.
very interesting because you can see exactly in the middle the brown area. That shows that there is severe weakness in the digestive system for that person, and that person was diagnosed with IBS or with bowel cramping and stomach cramping, and so it gets very bright around the area around it, so I would go right into the center. So if I wouldn't take a picture from that iris, it would just look lightly brown, hazel, And I would just like assume it's a brown eye because that would go into liver cleansing. But by
Yeah.
looking into the iridology for digital camera, I can get very specific now with that
If
person.
someone gets treatment, does that clear up?
Yeah, that's a good question. For the longest time, we believed that because the pictures weren't as accurate. But now with the digital camera, we actually go back and say it doesn't clear up because it's like a memory.
Oh,
we have
wow.
learned something from it. We don't want to erase it.
I
It's
thought
kinda
they
like
my
a-
brown eyes blue.
Yeah. No.
Like a cellular memory.
Yes.
Wow.
It was meant to be your experience. It's like an emotional field. There's we make experiences to grow, and so does our physical body.
Wow. Well, I know, and before we come in and incarnate, we always have a mission, and sometimes secondary missions, and so this plays right into that. Yeah. Now, did we have any more eyes other than our guest?
The next eye, we put that into the mix because it was so unique and so fascinating, especially for your show.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Is that
I
one it?
happen? Yeah.
Is that you?
No, this is not this is the next eye. I would like to have the other eye that's just a pupil. So
Yeah.
I wanted, that was the fourth.
So we'll
So what
see.
I'm talking about is I had a person who came to me at the convention and she is partially blind.
Is that it?
And no, this is
Oh,
not the
that's not it yet either. We'll get the right one
Yeah.
up
Third
yet.
time's the charm.
There we go.
Oh my God, she really
See?
doesn't have
Yeah.
anything but a pupil. I mean, is that the eye? Or
Yeah,
just
this is the
pupil?
eye. This is her eye, and there was a little bit buildup of the iris around the corners, but generally she just has a pupil, no iris fibers. So what I did when I took the pictures, you can see exactly what we're talking about, the spiritual development
Right
in the
there.
pupil. If you look at the spot in the middle, it looks like a face. If you really, and
Yeah,
then
I
I
actually
see it
see
below
a
it.
couple. The
and then
one-
angels.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Well, the one that's up higher from the very center, that was the face. And now, we looked at it really close, so it
Yeah.
was much easier to see. Now, our viewers may not be able to see it as good because we actually had it right under our nose.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was an actual female face there that someone who never saw anything spiritually actually could see it.
Yeah.
And but on the one on the bottom, I see like
Yeah, I
more
see
like
it.
a spirit, like an
Yeah.
angel in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it had. Did it have wings?
Yes.
Yeah, it had wings.
And
too,
most people think it's the flashlight from the lights, but
Mm-hmm.
I've taken thousands of other pictures, and the flash around the light only goes like a little circle, so there shouldn't be one in a triangle form.
Well, the light would just make a halo. That's all it would do.
Right, and we eliminate light from outside because my digital camera is sucked onto the
Doesn't
pupil.
it look like the cloud pictures I take?
Sometimes, yeah, they do. That actually looks like. Well, you know, the angels do show us images in the clouds because they can
Absolutely.
manipulate that. Now, those two little white dots, not so people aren't confused. To
Yeah,
the right
that's-
and left. That's what. What
That's
is
my
that?
camera light.
That's the camera.
Yeah,
light.
that's how I illuminate the pupil to see better.
Now, this person was blind. You said, right? That's why the eye looks so unusual.
Yeah. So that's an eye that doesn't come across so much, but it explains what happens that the whole eye is the soul, the window to the soul,
Yeah.
literally in this case.
That really is fascinating. Now, I know that our viewers can't see it as good as we could on your
Yes.
computer blown up, but
Yeah.
that was, I have to tell you, that was absolutely fascinating to look at that up close, to see that you can see your angels in your eyes. And that was a big surprise to you, wasn't it?
Yes, and I was even saying when we were talking, waiting to get on the show, that it's almost like coming out with something.
Yeah.
Like explaining, because this is something that is just starting to happen in iridology. It's I heard from spiritual people or mediums that the energy is all shifting and changing around us. So
Right.
I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
we happen to
Splitting.
see more things that we haven't discovered yet.
That's true. Now, was there any point you want to make especially before we bring our first guest up? Iridology is the emotional one. I want to tap a little bit more Okay.
into it if you want to, because every emotion is associated to an organ, and you were bringing that up for a short moment.
Yeah.
But a major one is actually the one liver. You know, a lot of people, like, you know, have problems with the liver, you know, after 20, 30 years. But what I think is fascinating, that the liver is holding anger
Yes.
right? And the release of anger is like an emotional aspect as well as the cleansing of the liver.
Yeah, you know, I know that's true. My ex-mother-in-law, she was a teetotaler, mind you. She died of liver cancer. Well, you know, she had a somewhat submissive role to her husband, and after looking at that situation, I said to myself, oh, she buried that anger that she wanted to lash out, you know, so often. Well, she wound up dying of liver cancer. Now, do you also believe that the grief and sadness is held in the lungs?
Yes, yeah. And another thing that we were saying about the lungs, specifically the way Iridology found out, was it also holds in affection, which is right underneath the breast tissue. And we were talking about the affection. Sometimes it's a lack of, when people have a lack of energy in their breast tissue. So in this case, lack of affection. And there's something we have to really start to work on, because the more, you know, we're in the technical world with text and not calling anymore, we don't show slowly
Oh,
affection.
well, you know, I mean, think about the number of women that have breast cancer. And Tommy and I were talking about doing a show on cancer in the future.
Particularly breast cancer.
And we'll wear our pink for breast cancer, right?
I'm going to wear pink.
Yeah,
All right,
he's
go ahead.
going to wear pink, and everybody will tease him. But yeah,
Affection,
imagine that it's a lack of affection. The emotion is driving the cancer.
Yeah,
I see a correlation between this. This here is a tool to diagnose in one way, and kinesiology, when they do the feet, has the same type of chart.
Yeah.
What goes to what organ, and that could be the treatment to the problem.
Although I think this is more in-depth than the reflexology
Yes,
chart,
But I like
though.
what
It's
you're
the same
saying.
idea.
It's tied in.
Yeah.
Exactly. What really is the nice thing, you need to have something with Iridology, because if you find something, I think, that's my opinion, I need to give solutions now,
Yes.
right? Because if I just point things out left and right and then
Oh,
let
yeah.
that person go home.
Well, see now, that's true. You need a
you're
solution.
sick. Go home.
That is so frustrating. You go and you get diagnosed with something and there's no solution.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I would always use energy medicine, working with the Godhead. And in that case, let's say, you know, I would do emotional transmutation into mercy and grace for that person with the breast cancer to balance their emotions and their yin-yang. Into grace, see? Into grace, because whatever you are experiencing, let's say the lack of affection is this high, and if you transmute it into, with God, God actually does the work, and you transmute it into mercy and grace, it's this big. So the odds of, let's say, if we're using the breast cancer as an example, would be much smaller. You see,
In other words, those energies won't manifest as sickness in certain parts of the body.
well, yeah, that's true, because just like with the aura, when you work with the aura and the spiritual body, if you catch it in the aura, you can fix it before it manifests. It's really the same type of thing.
Right, and in this way, I'm going a little deeper and further. It's almost like we have 3 layers. There's a physical layer, there's an emotional layer, and there's a spiritual layer, which is the energy healing around it. But sometimes I notice people have to go deeper into the physical layers too, which means I go right straight to food and herbs. And I do take certain foods out that's not very supportive for that person at that moment.
Yeah.
Same thing with emotions, when they're like holding on, you know, of anger or they have a lack of affection, they need to tackle that.
That's right, because nothing gets better.
No.
You know, I always say that too. It's spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
Yeah.
You have to heal all aspects, or it's just going to reoccur.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why most of the time, sometimes my clients are not so happy after my talking with them, because there's work to do.
Yeah, they think everything's a
Well,
quick
everybody
fix.
thinks
They want a quick fix.
you're going to go to the doctor, he's going to give you a pill, and that's going to...
Yeah,
all
much
the
easier.
pill does is mask the problem.
But it's
doesn't
easier.
get rid of it.
It's easier starting
Yeah.
to work on your emotions and start exercising.
Yeah, have this
and-
oxycodone, call me in a couple of weeks.
And that's a dangerous drug.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
what they
that,
give you.
right?
It's like
yeah,
candy
I
to
know,
them.
I know. But, well, you know, this really gets deep, but it works so hand in hand with everything we do.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why.
Tea.
Yes, you could have a spot of tea. We, by the way, in case our viewers are wondering, Mother Mary wanted us to start having tea. So we all of our guests and us, we now have tea. We have a spot of tea. And these teacups were actually my mother-in-law's, who she's gone now, but she would collect these, and these were her souvenirs from wherever she traveled. So that's why there's such an assortment.
I like that. Mine's is hand painted, right?
Yeah, yours is a butterfly.
Like that.
So let's see, we're starting to count down. I think it's time to bring our guest
Guest
up.
up, yeah.
Do you want to see the picture up there first and then sit down and describe it? Or how do you want to work that?
We can simultaneously if you want. We can just put it up and I'll take a seat and.
You should
Okay.
take a seat over there and
Why
then
don't you,
describe it.
may we have in the control room up our guest photo 1? And Charlie, if you want to come up and sit over there and with Birgit, and we'll get started with that so people can see what an iridology session would look like. Now, what we've done is we've taken the photos in advance so they could be up on the screen so you could kind of get an idea. And she's going to take a look at these pictures, and she's going to analyze our guest and see what she can find to get to any challenges that he may have.
Not,
So
right?
I guess we're waiting for that to come up.
Yeah.
And you can pan over if you want and show our guest Charlie with Birgit. And it's going to be his eye that we're going to be looking at.
Here we go. Which already showed up a little bit in between the show, right?
All your secrets are going to come out now, brother.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. So the first one is the left eye you can see on the screen over there. So I look actually at both eyes at the same time, so I can see something that you have experience with already, like I said. So in this case, I merely see the plugs, the white clouds around it. It's very thick, the fibers right here on both eyes. And when I see that, that's called the eye is very uric acid. So you would always have to work on your pH balance. That's something the medical world doesn't see as much, but holistic people check the pH balance. You can take strips of tests for that, and you have to eat a little bit more alkaline food. So what that means, the greens have to be your friends, and you have to take out acidic foods. What that happens is when you have too much plaque around it, there's a higher risk for arthritis, okay? Joint pain, and weaknesses in the kidneys. Kidney stones as well. So on the left side of the iris, I can see kidney stones or kidney weakness. So did you experience that yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Did your mom have those experiences in her generations back?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. If I see another sign like this, then I'm working around it and figure out if you have any joint pain now already, like achiness.
Not yet.
Not yet. See, that's good. So that means that you have not developed what I see in your eyes. Another thing that I see is the digestive system is definitely a little bit sluggish, and it has a weak point. I can see the halo around it, around the stomach, around the pupil. And when I see that, that means the digestive enzymes are a little bit weak. So a person like that can develop acid reflux, pressure in the esophagus, and pressure when they eat a lot of acidic foods like meat. When that happens, I would immediately suggest that you would take digestive enzymes, or try to lower your intake of high protein foods. Did you have experience with that yet?
I do eat an awful lot of protein.
And do you feel already kind of pressure or
Not yet.
bloating or cramping?
Not yet.
No, not yet. That's okay. Then I'm going a little bit further into your childhood. Any problems with the bowel movements?
No.
Yeah, it seems a little hard to ask questions like that on TV.
No, I can't remember
But
that.
but I go into the heart area now a little bit. There's weakness in just like the lung area and pressure on the heart. When we see that, then there's sometimes the sign that when somebody eats, their colon or their stomach is pushing out and pushes against their heart. And then sometimes they have breathing issues or have a higher heart rate. And that's something that I see in your family area. Is there anything that your mom
Yeah, yes,
experienced?
and both
What-
mother and father.
Both mother and father. What is she experiencing yet? Her mom. your mom?
Well, she's gone now, but she did have some issues in that area. And she ultimately did pass away of leukemia.
Leukemia is a disease of the blood, so that's something I could not see in the iris. That's just that toxicity that's overtaking the iris. But in your case, what I would immediately suggest is making sure that you don't eat excessive protein, like the mucus building ones, the flour, the dairy, the sugar. Because in this case, you will build up too much mucus, and then you can create migraines, headaches, or even I see a sign up in the area where there is insomnia or sleeping disturbance.
Oh yeah, lots of lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep. So when I see that, and it's a little bit brown, then I would go, brown is always associated with the liver. So in this case, I would suggest to do a little milk thistle herbs with the tincture, and that might just release old hormones, because sometimes we can't fall asleep because we have stress hormones and they are not eliminated correctly from the liver. And in this case, we go into the liver, give a little milk thistle, and your sleep might come back, right?
Thank you, Birgit.
Do you experience any pain in your joints yet? Because I'm not backing off from that.
No,
Any
not yet.
achiness? Any, like when you get up and you just kind of feel like you need a little stretching, or?
No, but I always stretch every morning.
Because you have the tendency that you feel too achy then in the morning, right?
Not achy, but just
Tight.
a total, yes, a little tightness. But I've always exercised, and I've always have been cognizant of trying to stay with an exercise program in some format.
The reason why I'm not backing off from that, as you can see,
Yeah, please.
is that you creating too much uric acid. That's the metabolic waste product of protein, and sometimes, and most of the times, it gets stored in joints.
Lots of fruit. I eat lots and lots of fruit.
Okay, so a balanced diet is perfect. Very modern is the high protein diet, for example. It's now a different name, paleo diet or Atkins diet.
This high uric acid, that could lead to the gout.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I see that plaque, that's a generations back. That's your world that you're in, and just drinking liquid chlorophyll or wheatgrass juices can completely balance your energy in there. Now I'm talking a little bit about the emotional, because this person is a really tough guest for me on a show like that, because people like that are very like holding in things or like tight, like their joints emotionally. So in this case, what that means, you're not so easy open. You don't open up so much. You're a little bit more what's it called? The
Close
word.
to the vest.
Yes. And in a way, a little bit more like set in your way,
Probably.
right? So because you're set in your way, this is my advice as an iridologist, to do something more out of the ordinary, be more spontaneous, to balance your
Look forward to that.
your grouping. Yeah. So I want him to eat more, drink more greens, right? Eat less high protein diet, and be more adventurous.
Thank you, Birgit.
You're
Be
welcome.
more adventurous.
Oh, now, do we get the next eye up? Did you want to see?
I didn't take a picture yet from another eye, so.
Oh, no, didn't you do his right and left?
Yeah, oh, you guys didn't have that up yet.
Oh, okay, can we see the other guest photo, please? That was fascinating.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's like, you
fascinating.
know, and this is where iridology comes in. I talk about stuff that the person has no interest yet.
Well, that's what's great about it. You you fix it before it manifests.
Yes, and that's why it's the preventive care. And there's the saying that iridology shows things before it happens 20 years ahead. So in this case, when somebody then has joint problems and the cartilage is deformed and calcification in their joints, then to turn things backwards is a little bit harder. It's just balance it out now. Do you have any questions?
way too many before this show could end.
Okay. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're still waiting for that other eye, right? Control room, is that it?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, the white clouds around it. As you can see, it lays on top of it. And those are the plugs that we talk about of being more acidic, having more risk for arthritis, having a bit of elimination problems with the uric acid through the kidneys, and that's why I was digging towards the kidney stones as well. Because the kidneys take the most burden when you have a high protein diet. Okay,
Thank you again.
you're welcome.
Wow. Well, that was excellent. Thank you, my dear.
Oh, you're welcome.
Did you want to ask a question or two before you step off?
No, but I think that I'm finding this to be extremely fascinating, that it's something totally different from the world that I'm in.
Yes.
And it just opens up your eyes.
That's perfect. That's
nice.
perfect.
Literally, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all right. So I guess you could stay there if you want, or you can go sit back, whatever you feel like.
I'm a little camera shy, so I think I will leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you, Birgit.
thank you, Charlie.
Do you have another contestant?
Do you want to get your eye done? I think we have enough minutes for 5 minutes.
Sure, I do it.
He's never had it done before
Okay,
either.
we'll
so.
have him
Go
hop
gentle.
on.
Oh,
I'm
are
new.
you are you
Yeah, I gotta
wired? You can
unwire.
walk.
Yeah, I'll unwire it. Then.
We
I'll use
unwire
the
him.
mic there.
Okay, so while he does that, while Tom gets ready to go over there, I wanted to tell everybody about something that was really, really important. And in fact, we even have a crew member here tonight who was experiencing something of it. Now, on my Facebook page, I often talk about things that suddenly happen to alert people, because we only do the show once a month, so I can't keep you informed of some things that are happening. But there's been a giant shift very, very recently, since last Saturday. And I don't know how many of you folks, the viewers out there, have been feeling it, but I was so exhausted, and I posted what happened on my Facebook wall, and so many people jumped in and said, oh my God, now I know what's happening. Well, the key is that there was this huge shift in the Earth actually expanded.
Perfect.
And the scientists will be showing this, be able to tell you this in fact shortly. And what that did when it expanded, it sucked the life force from every living thing, including mankind. Hence, our life force itself was sucked out so that the Earth could survive. So may I suggest to anyone who's still feeling fatigued or dizzy or feeling ill in any way, to do a prayer petition to God to ask Him to fill up your life force and your batteries and charge your chakras and your organs. Now, for the specific prayer petition, you can go to my Facebook page, wall, Adolphina Shephard, and you'll see the post there with the eye with the big flame, and you read up about that for your own health. Okay, and are you guys ready?
Yeah, we are ready.
All right, I don't want to take too much more time on that, so we're going to segue over to Birgit and Tommy, and he's going to get his eyes looked at.
Okay, I looked at his eyes, and just like I showed that picture with those stretch strings around it, you got them too. So, which is great, which is like a person who is very focused. They don't give just 100%, they give 200%. Which is fantastic to know when you have new employees. You should take iridology pictures right away.
Yeah, well, okay.
Another thing is I see cholesterol buildup in your family and in you probably already experienced that probably a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
I'm working on that.
Yes. I also see a little bit of a flatness right here. And that flatness is in that pupil on the left eye, and that goes a little bit towards blood sugar. Okay?
I have that too.
So, and when I see that, I go right away now and look at the digestive system, and it looks like you're not absorbing your nutrients correctly, which means it makes you the tendency to go for quick fix, like the sugar or the coffee. So by doing that, you kind of set up the field for high stimulation, but lack of nutrients. So what I would suggest for you is lower your threshold of work.
Wow, that's a little hard.
Easy
Quit
to-
your job.
Yeah, easy to say, but difficult to do, right?
quit your job, and then you'll be all good. No.
Well, that'd be great.
And live on the island. No, generally try to focus more on the quality of your food as the quantity. Most time, and this is the iridology that I see from you, people like that go a little bit more for the volume to get the energy from, because you're not absorbing all the nutrients from your food. So in this case, go high quality, which means have every once in a while one of those smoothies that we sometimes make as holistic health coach.
I bought that thing.
Yeah, and shake it and drink it and take it with you.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
Emotionally, the emotional aspect is the ring of determination is what you have. We call it the ring of determination. That means you set your mind on it and you go for it, and you make it happen. And this is why we're here probably, right? Which is great. Another positive things are your pupil is quite small, which means you can retract your energy correctly. So you're not getting affected too much from other people's negativity. So you can handle it good, the environment around it, because sometimes we are so connected with each other, and when you have, say, very open pupils, we get affected from, a person who is negative, and when we're very close to them, we take in their energy. So
I always clear.
you're pretty protected, which is great, and that gives you also good energy.
Great. It's good
Right?
to know. That's good to know.
Now, Birgit, do you have a suggestion for Tommy with the overload of sugar? Is there a specific food type that would benefit him, or digestive enzymes, or something like that?
Generally said, when that's a genetic, which is in your family, right, the
Yes.
blood sugar and the cholesterol, I would say that I would go and supplement a little bit with ionic minerals, especially with chromium.
Chromium?
They have found that chromium is deficient in our soil.
Well, I take chromium percolinate.
Yeah.
I do take that.
Perfect.
I take
Then
chromium
you're on the
percolinate.
right track. And get rid a little bit of those empty calories. Right? The empty calories are like all
No
our
more
snack
cupcakes, I
food.
promise.
All the snack food.
I lied. I can't do it. All right. Okay, so no more snack foods, Mom.
And exercise, the old-fashioned exercise.
Oh, I hate that. I like
Yeah,
to walk,
the old-fashioned exercise can balance your blood sugar well too, but generally said you're on the right track of starting to drink that smoothie you said, instead of having always the quick fixes of that muffin, or because we get to a certain point, we get so hungry
though. I know.
that even when your willpower was for New Year's to change your diet, once we hit that spot, we have to take it, we have to eat it, and so you should always eat before you get hungry in a way.
So it's that little comfort food zone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And like I said, with the energy and the balance, the more stress you have, the more you go for quick fix. So that drives you towards it. So even if you take your chromium, if you don't lower down your workload or learn to say no, a person like you, they're always like, yeah, I'll do it.
That's what I always do. She
Okay.
knows that I get calls that, somebody asks me, they need a prayer, they need this, they need that.
And
I'm
you,
always
I'll
on
do
it.
it. I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and this is like said, and the old-fashioned napping sometimes is really not bad for you.
Don't say that. My wife probably watching this. She tells me I nap enough.
But that's how we group. Like if you're a good napper, that's actually something you have chosen and that made you feel more balanced.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wow. Well, that was excellent. I enjoyed those readings. Thank you very much.
Sure.
You want to come back on
Yeah.
over? Or I don't think we have time for another quick reading, but I find it absolutely fascinating that you can pick all that up. And the best thing is, like in Charlie's case, it
Yeah.
hasn't hit him yet, so that's
which is-
wonderful.
Yeah, so he must have well-rounded life. Happiness, is a big deal too.
Oh, yeah.
Like sometimes you can carry all those things with you, but like there's the saying that all your genetic weaknesses are just like a gun that's loaded, right? But somebody has to pull the trigger. And the pull of the trigger comes more like when emotionally we can stabilize ourselves anymore. But when you're in a good place and you're happy and you follow your purpose, or you feel like you're in the zone, you know, where there's no time, when you do something and you forget to finish because you're so in it and 2 hours passed. That's not lost time, that is time. That's time for your happiness.
Well, you know, what I've found for happiness is the creative force. Whenever you're doing something, at least for myself, when I feel like I'm creating something, like you're in the zone, like if I'm writing the script, or I'm writing a book, or I'm drawing something else, or whatever moves me. And a lot of times, for instance, I even have to document my dreams and so forth. And when I'm doing that, hours can pass, and I have no clue, and that's the creative force, that's your passion.
Yes.
And so this is, I think, what you're saying, right? You gotta find that thing that you just love so much that drives your happiness.
Yeah, a Chinese doctor once told me, which I thought was so fascinating. He said, we are in the Western world are so worried always of living longer, but he said, if you do something where there is no time, you live forever.
Oh, that was good.
I know, and I was
That's
like,
good.
wow, like, because you get lost in time. So and that's how they stay young. And there's also the group of in Himalayan where they live till they're 110 or something like that, but nobody has really a birth certificate either, so we don't know. But they say they don't retire, they retire to something constantly.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember reading a story about in those places where an 87-year-old man hiked up the mountain to see his mother, who was like 100-something, found her chopping wood. She says, did you have breakfast yet, my son? He's like 87. And so she goes, gets an egg from the hen, gets some corn, grinds up the cornmeal, makes a taco enchilada thing, does the egg.
In the Himalayas.
And she's doing
She
this.
made a taco.
Well,
What are you,
not a
Mexicans
taco,
over there?
an enchilada or something. I don't remember the exact story, but you get the idea. Meanwhile, here's a woman who's 100 years old doing this for her 87-year-old son, chopping her own wood. Here, somebody 100 years old
Killing
is
a
sitting in
Yeti.
a rocking chair. You know?
So the point is, we have to be lost in time, right? Or
Yeah. I mean, we have to stay active, and you know, I mean, when someone retires, you just certain lay over and wait to die.
Yes.
You know, you have to have something else.
A passion, develop passion. That's what I was
That's
saying.
what happens. A lot of people, you know, they work at a job for 25, 30 years, 35, whatever it is, and they're used to a routine.
Yes.
The minute that routine stops, they die because they're a person of routine. They never change it up. They never do something else. They never take on an interest. They just go to work, eat, sleep, die.
Yeah.
And then they retire with no thought of their future. And I think that's so key, you know, is when I'm going to retire, I'm going to do this.
Retire means you
know.
retire from work, not from life.
Right,
Yes, exactly.
right.
Well,
And it's just fascinating, this whole concept with this and our conversation, and how much it just ties in with our own work, with the energy work we do and everything else. And so we've really enjoyed having you
Oh,
here.
thank
We
you
should
so
have her back
much.
again.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was awesome. I really liked it, especially because we interlink everything,
Yeah.
don't we?
You know, I want to ask you before, we're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon, but do you connect the pancreas with lack of sweetness?
Yes.
Okay. See, this is diabetic now, okay? When people are diabetic, this is the emotion associated behind it, lack of sweetness, which means, is this all there is? Isn't there any more joy for me? Isn't there any more joy I can have? So for anybody who's a diabetic, I would say go find your joy, right?
And another thing is envy. Envy. Sometimes people think they can't do anything. They always like, I wish I could be like that. And that goes in the pancreas too.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's good. So, you know, I guess I want to remind everybody, since we're wrapping down, that the show does play every Friday night at 9 o'clock and on channel 79 and 35, Time Warner and Fios. And also you can catch it running through the week too. Sometimes it will play 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
And we want to thank all of our sponsors. Oh yes, and after it's shown, it's also put on YouTube, so you can catch it there if you missed the show. And so We
Our
want to thank our
sponsors,
sponsors.
yeah. Our sponsors are Antonio's Pork Store in Tottenville, Anthony Rizzo, owner, and Aardvark Pest Control, Greg Kills, Vincent Bonacore, president.
And of course, our wonderful crew. We want to thank them and you, because I know it was quite a trek for you to get here. How long did it take you to get here?
It was quick, actually. It was so quick that we could actually like get a coffee still.
Really?
Yes,
great.
it was like 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Oh,
or
Stop
that's
at Tony
something.
Luke's next
great.
time and bring some
That's
Philly
great.
cheesesteaks.
Oh, there we go. See, we could make that deal.
There goes that protein thing again. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I want to tell you what Tommy did one day. He was watching a show on TV about the Reading Terminal, right?
Yeah.
And in there, they were showing roast pork with broccoli rabe and provolone, right? So he says, "Oh, are you close to there? Can you go in there and get me a couple of those sandwiches?" So I said, "Guess what? We have a place right around the corner from us that's even better." So before I came up here, I slept over there and I got a couple of them. And after the show, and bear in mind, this is like 6 hours later, he called me the next day and he goes, "Oh my God, they were so good. They were so good, you know?"
Yeah,
right?
the problem was that my wife slept in the other room because they smell like a garlic factory. Yeah.
Okay. And so anyway, so that was about it. But we just wanted to, if there any last comment you want to make about anything in here, because we have just about a minute left.
If you really feel unwell, don't take the answer from the doctor of saying everything is fine with you. We have a very good health intuition, everyone from us. So if we're in the gray zone, like thyroid, or we just feel very sluggish, take it serious and investigate in your own health by figuring out, what do I eat too much? What do I eat too less? Am I happy? Am I not? It's kind of like checking in. That's very important for me.
All right, and yeah, and oh, by the way, you can get Birgit's information at the end of the show here, and our information, where I've told you about my Facebook page, the website, and our email addresses and phone numbers are listed at the end of the show. So we want to say thank you, our viewers. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Have a good night.
Good night. So did you like?